Hello and welcome to episode 100 of Stitched in Sweden. My name is Maria and you can find me on Ravelry and Instagram as Stitched in Sweden. I am coming to you today with episode 100 and it's kind of a fun coincidence that this episode is being filmed just the day after my 9-year podcast anniversary. So my first ever episode was released January 28th, 2015. So here I am 9 years later, publishing episode 100. There have been a few breaks along the way, sometimes putting out videos more often than others, but it's still fun to think back 9 years recording in our first ever apartment with bad lighting and all of the above. But yeah, so for this anniversary episode, I thought I would just share a couple of things that would be fun. A lot of things have happened in those 9 years, both in my personal life and in my podcast YouTuber life. I have published 20 knitting patterns during that time. I now have 11,000 subscribers on YouTube. And I have also recently reopened my Patreon account. So if you're not familiar with Patreon, Patreon is a platform for creators, makers, etc. to share what they're working on. It's for all different kinds of creators. So it could be people who are just creating different types of content, and you can basically become a subscriber to that content, and Patreon allows you to support that creator financially. So previously I had Patreon, I think it was in 2020, I did Patreon for 9 months or so before we moved to the US, and I had 3 tiers set up, different levels of support that you could do, and at each of those levels there was also different kind of subscriber benefits that you would get. Now I've simplified things a bit, so I have 2 tiers that you can support me at. There's the knit tier, which is kind of the base level support, and then there's also the upper level support called Stitched. Stitched is going to be where you're getting extra content for supporting me every month. And I've already been starting to post some new content there, but just to give you maybe an idea of what you can expect there. The knit supporters, again, that's kind of the base level. You are basically showing your support for the content that I share here on YouTube. You will get an ad-free version of the YouTube video. I don't know if everybody gets ads on the videos now. I don't benefit from the ads. It's not something that I can choose to put on the videos anymore or take off them. I used to be able to select that I didn't want to have ads. That's no longer the case, but with the knit tier you will have access to just direct video with no ads. There will be a monthly Patreon exclusive update posted there that will be either in the form of a video, but most likely in the form of kind of a blog post overview. And then you'll always have 20% off in my Ravelry store for my self-published patterns. And then at the Stitched tier, you will be getting weekly Patreon only updates, and those will also come in the form, primarily written form with nice pictures, sometimes in video format as well. Those will include not only updates about what I've been making and knitting and sewing, but also making in other parts of my life, like cooking or baking or house projects, It will also include some more family life updates, personal updates, and that kind of thing. Additionally, at this level, you're going to have access to one digital download illustration every month. So something that I haven't really shared in the 9 years that I've been podcasting is that I also enjoy fine art, so drawing and painting. It's something that I did a lot when I was in middle school and high school and growing up, and then continued actually into college as well. And recently I have decided to take that a little further and start doing digital illustrations for surface pattern designs, for example. Surface pattern design is basically, if you think of anything that has a surface, like a notebook or stationery or wallpaper or wrapping paper or fabric, and it has a pattern on it, somebody has designed that pattern, and that's basically what I'm working on designing now. So more and more I will be, well, monthly for the Patreon subscribers, I will be sharing with you a digital piece of art that you can print at home or like at a coffee shop. It could be something that you could frame on your wall. It might be like a calendar page or just some kind of small digital piece of art that you can either keep in digital form. It might be like a phone background or something like that, or you can also have it printed. So that is kind of what I have set up so far. Sometimes things might change on there, but you'll always be notified as a subscriber what you can expect to see there. So a lot of you have already come back to support me at the new tiers that I have available now, who were supporters of my Patreon back in 2020 and 2021. So I really appreciate that, and I'm excited to see some more of you there. So this next month in February, I thought as part of this kind of 9-year anniversary, it would be fun to offer everybody 20% off in my Ravelry store. And if you are a Patreon subscriber, if you're a patron, then you'll get 25% off this month, but typically you'll get 20% off as well. So I will share the code for that here, so that if you're interested for the entire month of February, you can purchase one of my, or more than one if you want, of my published patterns at a discount of 20%. And speaking of my published patterns, I don't really talk about my patterns all that much. Like I don't really go back to them that often, but I thought it would be fun to share with you my most popular ever published pattern, which is actually the first pattern that I ever published, which is the Little Hearts cardigan. The very original version of this pattern I knit for my niece, who is now, well, she should be about 9 years old. I knit it for her when she was probably 3 or 6 months old. That pattern came in 3 sizes, really for babies in the first year. And then a few years ago, I published an updated version of the pattern called Little Hearts for Kids, which had a more extended size range for older kids. So I don't have the original cardigan anymore because she wore it a ton. And actually we got it back when Eloise was a baby, my youngest daughter, but it's somewhere else right now. I don't know where it is exactly. It's in a box for infant clothing. I reknit the baby version again when Eloise was born 4 years ago, and updated the pattern a little bit at that time because my pattern writing skills had improved a bit. So I do have the Little Hearts for Kids version, which is the same design, it just has extended sizing, and this is, I think, the size 1 year or so that I knit for Eloise when she was 1, and Nora, my second daughter, has also worn this one. The original was also knit in a gray yarn, but it had more pinky purple hearts in the yoke. So the pattern now has both an option for knitting it flat, which is my preferred method when it's just a really small amount of color work like this in the yoke. Traditionally, when you knit with color work, it's most often knit in the round because that's easier to kind of carry the yarn, and it's just easier to do color work on the knit side of the fabric. But here it's really not that many rows of color work, so doing a few purled rows in the color work isn't that big of a deal. As you can see, it's a little bit stained, worn, used. I think knits should be used even for children. So yeah, that is my preferred method, doing the cardigan knit flat. But the new version of the pattern has options for doing a steeked version as well. So if you prefer to do steeked, then you can, but that kind of leaves a little bit of a different edge on the inside of the button band here, which is also a neat finish, but yeah, this is still my preference personally. So thought that would be just a little fun kind of blast from the past in case you are an original watcher of the channel. You will probably be familiar with this little pattern. I also have a DK weight pullover version of the pattern that I made again for my niece when she was the same niece that the original pattern was for, when she was a little bit older. So maybe it's time to revisit that one and knit it for one of my girls. So thank you for being with me these 9 years. If you've been here from the beginning, that's crazy, but also exciting. And if you are a more recent subscriber, thank you for being here. And yeah, I look forward to continuing this journey on YouTube and Patreon with you. So now we'll kind of shift into the regular content with my finished projects that I have completed since the last time we spoke, some projects that I am working on, and my upcoming plans, which will also include a little bit of acquisitions that I've made since the last time as well. So starting out, number 1 is the Aspen cardigan. This is a pattern by Michelle Wong, and it was published in Brooklyn Tweed many years ago. And this is my second attempt at knitting this pattern, and this time it turned out well. So I don't have it on right now because we're having a bit of a heat wave at the moment where the temperature is above 0 degrees Celsius or 32 Fahrenheit. I think we're maybe at 2 degrees today or something, but anyway, it feels warm. But I just finished this. Last time I had just a tiny bit of the button band left to do. It has, as you can see, a really nice shawl collar. I just have sewn on the buttons here, and it is nice and blocked and ready to be worn. I'm not sure if I will be wearing it buttoned up. I guess it works still buttoned up, but as you can see, I am 23 weeks pregnant at the moment with our 3rd daughter. But I'm really pleased with how this has turned out. It's exactly what I was looking for and hoping that it would be. I knit this in Cascade Merino Cascade Eco DK Merino, which I'm really happy with. I hadn't used this yarn before, but it is a nice plied DK weight yarn, and this particular, it comes in both dyed and undyed versions, and this is an undyed one. There are also other natural browns and gray colors that are undyed, as well as some more intense like jewel tone colors that are dyed. I knit this from the bottom up in pieces. It seemed, which I know a lot of those things probably sound scary to some people, but I really enjoyed the process, and I think for a sweater like this, a lot of those different elements being in pieces and seamed are important, both for the structure and stability of the garment, but also for your own sanity, because while knitting a piece like this that's intensely cabled, it's nice to be working on one small piece at a time. So only doing a sleeve, which I guess you are always only doing a sleeve when you're knitting sleeves, but for example, like only working on one front panel at a time, or the whole back panel. I mean, there's different cables, so different charts that you're looking at for each of these sections. So when you break it up into front pieces and the back piece, it just makes it a little bit easier to follow. Definitely a labor of love. It got a little bit on pause when I was experiencing some pretty bad morning sickness, and then I just like couldn't look at the project for a while. But now I'm so happy that I finished it, and I know that this is going to be something that I wear for many years to come, and it will be, it's kind of like a nice layer just to throw on, a cozy layer. Yeah, so I'm so happy that it's done. The next project that I finished since last time is also actually a Brooklyn tweed pattern, and this is the lace leaf pullover. I knit this for my mom for her birthday, which is in February. My parents are visiting us right now, so I thought it would be fun to see if I could knit this while she was here so that she can take it home with her, even though they'll be leaving before her birthday. She has worn it and it's been folded up now, but I'm pretty happy with how this one turned out. I did make a couple of modifications to this pattern. I think the original one is knit in Brooklyn tweed Peri, which I think is a now discontinued fingering weight yarn of theirs. I knit this one in Quince & Company Turn, which is a wool silk blend that I had just 5 50-gram skeins of. I knew that wasn't going to be enough to do the long-sleeved version of this sweater, which is the original, what the original pattern is. And this pattern is originally knit from the bottom up. And when you knit sweaters from the bottom up, typically you first start with the sleeves, so that you knit both the sleeves, and then you knit the body, and then you connect everything at the underarms, and then knit the yoke. So because I knew that I was not going to be knitting a long sleeve version, I wanted to have the flexibility of choosing my sleeve length after the yoke and the body was knit, because I knew that I wasn't going to have the yarn for sleeves. I was considering 3/4 length sleeves, or even just slightly longer short sleeves, but my mom said that she preferred regular short sleeves. So these are just like a little, kind of a cap sleeve, I would say. And I'll just put it on. It's a little bit looser on me, but it still fits. She wore it one day over a black turtleneck, which was just, she said it was just a nice little extra layer. So here it is, and the yarn has a nice drape to it. Yeah, again, it's a little wrinkly. I could have given it a little steam block before, but I didn't, so that's what you get. So I think I was a little bit overconfident or naive when I set out to knit this from the top down, or to modify the pattern to be top down. I really should have swatched, listen to me, I should have swatched. I did swatch the stockinette part of the pattern, but I should have also swatched the lace panel itself, because as I was getting to the lace part, I wasn't exactly sure how I was going to kind of reverse the lace, because what I didn't consider in my original plan was that there were, as you're knitting from the bottom up, there were decreases. So the number of stitches you had at this point of the lace yoke was larger than the amount of stitches that you had at this point of the yoke. So I was kind of picturing, I mean, which is very common, but I was kind of picturing the lace panel as being all one section, that there was no increases or decreases in it. So because the increases, or yeah, in this case, because the decreases when it was knit from the bottom up were incorporated into the panel, then incorporated into the lace pattern, I kind of had to figure out a different way to make the pattern, make the lace design using increases, because I was doing from the top down, so I needed more stitches. So anyway, it worked out, and just took a little more thinking than I was expecting. I did it right back a little bit, but it's fine. I ended up, for the sleeves, I just did like 5 rows of ribbing, and that was it. So I picture this as being a little bit more of kind of transitional wear, spring or fall time. But it was also nice to see that she could wear it over a turtleneck, and then she could wear it in the middle of winter as well. So yeah, that's this one. And that is also one of the projects that was on my plans list for 2024. So that is fun to have my first project for that, the first project in that list checked off, and yeah, the first bit of yarn taken out of my big box, which if you don't know what I'm talking about, you can check out episode number 99. Okay, so the last fully finished object, I would say, is, my hair is driving me crazy, I need a haircut. My last fully finished project is actually the first one that was on my plans list and in my box, now that I'm thinking about it. This is the Era hat, which I shared, I think last time I shared my version of this hat, which is in an orange color. This one is one that I knit for Thomas. It is knit using Sandness Garn Sunday in a really nice dark forest green color, and then the mohair that I used is Drops Kid Silk mohair, also in a dark green color. I really like this pattern. It's a 1x1 rib. It has a nice detail at the top with just, I don't know, a nice kind of little ribbed panel. Like, I just like the way the decreases are, so when you wear it, it kind of sticks up a little bit in like a flatter cone way, rather a flatter kind of ski slope way rather than like a pointy cone hat, and I like the fit of it. Thomas also really likes this one. I think He's been wearing it and it's a win. So yeah, that was actually the first project that I finished out of my box. I have cast on another era hat, and I noticed last time I shared that the book that it came from that I own, but I also noticed when I was linking the pattern on Ravelry that you can buy that pattern as a standalone from her Ravelry shop. So in case anybody was interested in it but didn't have the book, you can buy it on Ravelry. So I decided actually to cast on another era, it's E-I-R-A hat, and this is going to be a gift for someone. And I'm knitting this one. It's my third version in the third different set of yarns. This one might be my favorite combination. This is Delirium Natura in the Albertine is the main yarn, and the color is Prune. This is a 90% wool, 10% silk blend, fingering weight yarn. I only have one ball of this, and I'm pretty sure that I'm going to need a second one, but we'll see when I get there. And then the color, the mohair that I'm holding with it is also from Delirium Natura, and it's in the color Confiture de Rose, and that is 55% Super Kid mohair, 25% silk, and 20% wool. And I think this might be my favorite mohair, silk mohair blend. There's just something about it. It's really soft, in my opinion. But I do remember when I first got it that I didn't think it was that soft. So I don't know if I'm the best judge of that. I think it is really soft though. I'm going to be knitting a garment out of this shortly. So now I have it in my chapstick. Some mohairs have a little bit of a prickle factor for me. So I will be curious to see if the garment that I'm going to knit with it, how that feels on my skin. Here's my swatch for that. Yeah. One thing that I really like about this is that it's fuzzy without being excessively hairy. So the Drops Kid silk is definitely nice. It's soft too. It's at a different price point than the Delirium Natura, but it's quite hairy. So it's almost hairy enough that I would consider taking scissors and like giving a little trim. Whereas this one to me has like a perfect amount of fuzz, nice halo, it's really soft, and it knits up beautifully with this Albertine as well. And they just came out with, I think, 9 new colors of that yarn. So, yeah, I'm considering using, depending on how, I'm going to see how this garment turns out. And if the prickle factor on this one is good for me, then I'm going to likely replace the Drops Kid Silk mohair that I had planned for my porcelain sweater, which I shared in my last video, with this Bernice mohair from Delirium Natura. So we will just have to see about that. But first, before I buy that, I'm going to knit this garment with it and see how it turns out. I have a little pearl button on here because I brought this swatch with me to the shop to look at other buttons too. Okay, so 2 other works in progress that I have to share. This one is technically still work in progress. I'm calling it a work in progress because the ends are not woven in yet fully and it hasn't been blocked. I did just give it a little steam block with the iron. This is a pattern that you have not seen at all, and it wasn't on the needles last time. This is my remaining yarn, and here it is. This is what I'm calling the Pop Rocks sweater, because it just reminds me of a explosion of Pop Rocks candy. And I have knit this for my daughter Eloise. She has been very patiently requesting a new sweater. She loves the second Blossom of Snow sweater that I knit her, that's the non-tickly version, and she wears it regularly. She saw this yarn in my stash and decided that it was for her. I agree, definitely, and decided, okay. When she asked me, Mama, what are you knitting now? And I told her that it was another sweater for me, when in fact I had said that after her more grandmother's sweater, it would be her turn. I put down my project and cast on this one for her. So Pop Rocks sweater will probably be a pattern eventually. This is a size 4 to 5 year old. I knit it using 1 skein of fingering weight yarn with a little bit left over. And that was kind of my goal, to see if I could get her size out of a single skein of yarn, because that is what I had in this, which is Spun Right Round Classic Sock in the color Sassy. And I had originally thought about making a hat for her or Nora out of this yarn, but then I kind of got this idea, I wonder if I could make a whole sweater if I combined it with something else. So I held the yarn double with Arwetta Classic. This is a just kind of standard 80% wool, 20% nylon blend. And even though this is just wool, like it's not merino, like this one is a 100% superwash merino, this one really has 0 prickle factor, so she'll be fine with it. I hope. No, she will be. So I used that just to maximize the colored yarn that I had. I used the contrast one for all the cuffs and the hem and the collar, which is folded over, but I held it, yeah, double throughout. I knit most of the way down the body, then decided to put it on hold, knit the sleeves to their full length, weighing my yarn to make sure that I had enough left to do the second sleeve, and then I still had a little bit left over, so I decided to add another 1.5 inches or so to the bottom of the sweater, just to hopefully extend the length of time that she can wear it a little bit. So yeah, really happy with how this turned out. It is a DK weight gauge, I think around 21, I need to measure again, I think it's 21 stitches per inch, and it's just makes a really nice fabric. So I will likely be looking for some test knitters for that one soon, and I'm kind of debating, it will probably only go up to a size 4 to 5, but I'm considering knitting going down to the full youngest end of the size range. So I might make one in like a 6-month size for the next baby coming in May, so that she could wear it in the winter. So I would be kind of testing that size out as well. Yeah, anyway, that is the Pop Rocks sweater for now. That's the name. Okay, so my last work in progress is the Crystal pullover, and this is a sweater that is also from my box of plans. I think I need to have a better name for that, but let's just leave it at that for now. And this is the sweater that I was knitting for myself when Eloise reminded me that her sweater was in fact next on the list. So this is a sweater from Helga, I think, or Helen Isayer, which is the, I guess, owner maybe of Isayer Yarns. I think I said Isager last time, but I think it's Isayer maybe. Danish brand. And yeah, it's a V-neck that I shared on the last episode because it's in my plans. And I have knit the body. It's knit from the top, from the bottom up. I'm doing a lot of, I guess this is only the second bottom up thing because I changed the other one to be top down recently, but I haven't done bottom up for a long time, and then suddenly I'm encountering it a bit more. I'm knitting this, doing a little kind of informal mini knit along with a friend of mine on this one. We're both knitting it in similar yarns in that it's a natural held together with a, hers is a little bit more pinkish than mine, but we're both working on this pattern at the moment. So I started mine with a Italian cast on, which is my favorite method for a nice tubular cast on. I didn't do the 2 or 4 rows of double knitting that's sometimes called for with an Italian cast on because I prefer the look and the stretchiness of the cast on without those. So I just do the Italian cast on and then start directly in with knitting and purling, rather than the double knitting involves like slipping the knits and purling the pearls on one row and then slipping the pearls and knitting the knits on the next row. Didn't do that. So it has quite a deep ribbing at the bottom, and then it has a rather short body, so the whole thing is quite cropped. I have knit the body about an inch longer, I think, before separating for the sleeves, or separating the front and back. It's kind of weird to hold right now because I've started also knitting up the back, which is the next part. And the front is going to have a V-neck with a quite deep or wide ribbing in the V-neck, and the whole thing has a bit of an oversized, quite romantic feel to it, I think. I really am enjoying the yarn that I'm working with. These are 2 yarns that I've never knit with before, and I think it's making a really nice, lightly, it's not even marled, but it's, I guess it is lightly marled effect with the yarn. It's just kind of creating a little bit of a tone to the yarn. So rather than just a completely natural color, this is the fully natural. Can you see that this has just ever so slightly touch of pink to it? It kind of gives the overall look of a little bit more of a heathered look, or a slightly more beigey, which I'm holding it with this mauve, kind of dusty mauve color, which I think is actually called sand. I don't know that I agree that this is sand, but it is a 50% merino, 30% silk, and 20% cashmere blend. So although it's not giving as much of a halo as I thought that it might, because it looks quite similar in a way. Yeah, it's less fluffy than the Durium Natura, but in some ways it has a similar sort of fuzz halo to it. It's definitely knitting up with less of a halo, but it is adding a whole new dimension of softness to the project. So yeah, it's really enjoyable to work with, and I'm also really excited about the way that the color is working in with that too. So that one was on hold while I finished the Pop Rock sweater, but now I will likely be getting back to that and just knitting the hat kind of in the car or at other times when I have less attention to give to the knitting projects. So the other yarn that I'm knitting that with is Drops Daisy, and this is a 100% extra fine merino. really nice yarn to work with. Great price point. I'm super curious to see how this will wash and wear. I've heard good things about it. This is my first time using it. This is color number 1. I also have this color number 11, which is light nougat, I think it was called, that I will be using paired with this Isair silk mohair in the color number 0. These two will be paired together. I think I had these last time when I did my plans video, but they were in the mail. This is going to be for sweater number 18 by My Favorite Things Knitwear, and this is a swatch for that. So I'm just really excited to find this drops yarn that is a really nice price point, but it's not super wash and it doesn't have alpaca in it. Because a lot of drops yarn I find has alpaca in it, and sometimes I don't want to knit with alpaca. This one is just, it just feels like a nice staple yarn, and it's relatively new, so I'm hoping that they'll come out with an even more expanded color palette, but they do have some really nice colors as well as some really nice neutrals in that yarn. But yeah, I'm just really enjoying this yarn. I'm really enjoying that project, and I'm excited to wear it. So I think that brings us kind of to the last section. I will just share with you a couple of my upcoming plans. I'll be finishing the crystal pullover before I cast on anything new, is my plan, because I guess I've always kind of known this, but I really am a monogamous knitter. I prefer to knit really one main thing at a time. So like the crystal pullover got completely put to the side as I knit this sweater for Eloise. And I guess I don't really count the hat being a separate project, because that is just pretty much a stockinette project. It's 1x1 rib. It's something that I can do in the car. It's something that doesn't require focus really in the same way as a more involved project. And sometimes you need kind of one of those smaller projects that you can take on the go. I am finding that I prefer to have one main project on the needles at a time, and I'm gonna try to kind of stick with that. When I had this Aspen cardigan on the needles at the same time as my raglan pullover, it kind of just became too much, and I felt like I wasn't making progress on either one of them. I also wasn't knitting a lot, but yeah, I think I just prefer to have one sweater project on the go at a time. Another upcoming project that I have planned that wasn't in my plans video. Plans video is meant to be kind of a guideline for myself, in a way to kind of designate yarns that I had with patterns that I'm excited to knit. But doesn't mean that there's not going to be other projects mixed in with that. It's just kind of to establish some projects that I want to knit this year, mostly for myself, although 2 of the ones that are finished so far have been for other people. I think this is the last one in the plans video that is for somebody else, or the plans box. So without further ado, the next another project that will be upcoming at some point soon will be the Lamb. It's just called Lamb, and that's a pattern by Claire Garland, and Claire has published so many patterns that are like very realistic animals, and they're super cute. If you've seen on Instagram, there's like this little frog and toad. I think it's, the Instagram videos are mostly with like a little frog who like does little things in stop motion. She has a little frog guy pattern. She also has like a ton of different dog breeds where they're like very realistic dog breeds, stuffed animals. A friend of my, like an old neighborhood friend from my parents' neighborhood knit Nora, my youngest daughter, a rabbit from one of her patterns when she was born, and it's just really beautiful. Like, it's, I don't know, it's kind of cool. I guess like in some ways you could think it's a little creepy because it sort of looks like a actual stuffed animal because they're so realistic, like taxidermy style, but I'm not gonna go there. I think they look really cool, and I'm excited to knit Lamb, which is a free pattern that she has on Ravelry, and I'm going to knit that for the new baby. So I went to the yarn store in the town closest by where we live. I went there with my mom because she had never been there, and my parents are visiting right now. I can't remember if I mentioned that. We went the other day and I decided to pick up some yarn for this project. I got this Essayer Boucle yarn, and this will be kind of the main fuzzy yarn for the lamb. It gives the lamb a lot of texture. I think in the original pattern, the boucle yarn that is used is the Drops boucle. This is called Eco Boucle. It's 100% alpaca, 50 grams, 175 meters. And this is color E0. And I need to look at the pattern a little bit more, but I know that there's, I think throughout the entire pattern, something is held double. The yarn is held double. So I will probably be holding this together either with the rest of this Arwetta Classic. I think it was originally maybe with a sport weight yarn, but I'll just have to see kind of how the gauge is working up. But maybe some kind of cream like this. I also have maybe a little bit more of a DK weight, another cream. I have no idea what it is. And then this is a leftover from my Aspen cardigan. So probably one of these will be used for the lamb. And then there's some more kind of accents throughout the lamb that I will use. Also, this is Arwetta, but this is the new label for them. This is also Arwetta, but it doesn't have a tag. So some combination of these will be used to create that lamb. This one is color 977, No Idea, and 973. So I think that is going to be super cute for a little lamb. That will be a nice project for the baby, because even though I do enjoy knitting baby things, I do have a lot of baby sweaters and child sweaters, I guess, because I knit a lot for Eloise, and now Nora has gotten to wear those, and I've knit a few for just Nora now that will go also for the new baby. But I think it will be nice to have something for the new baby that is just hers. That's all for the knitting content, but I have two upcoming sewing project plans to share with you today. I haven't been sewing a whole lot lately, just because, especially when my parents are here, knitting is a more social craft that I can do. I don't know what's going on here. That I can, you know, we can watch a movie together in the evening, and I can be knitting while we're all watching something together. Whereas like sewing is a more, yeah, I don't want to say like private project. That's weird. I'm not talking to other people while I'm sewing. Typically I'll have my headphones on and I'll be listening to an audiobook or a podcast. And it's just, yeah, it's just different. So I've been doing mostly knitting, and I've also just, I always have more knitting energy in the winter and more sewing energy in other times of the year. It's just how it goes. I am a Minerva brand ambassador, so every month I have the option to select some fabric from minerva.com to sew up for them in exchange for a blog post write-up and images for their website. So this month I selected two fabrics that I'm going to use this one will be used to make summer pajamas for my daughters. And you can see, I think this is called a Pontel jersey, hopefully. Let's see if you can get a little bit of that texture. You're probably familiar with this type of fabric for like underwear or like I don't know, baby clothes or like underwear, I'm thinking. Tank tops. Like I think I remember having some like undershirts in this kind of fabric when I was younger. So I have 1.5 meters of this very wide jersey fabric in this nice rose color, and I'm planning on making pajama sets for all 3 of my girls for the summer. So for Eloise and Nora, that will probably look like just a t-shirt with a little pair of shorts with an elastic waist. And then for the new baby, I will probably make a long sleeve onesie. And I haven't decided if I'll do like little leggings or if I will do little shorts for that as well. Haven't decided on those patterns yet, but I know that I'll find something in my stash of kid patterns that I'll use. Even if it's not like a pajama pattern per se, I just, you know, you could use a t-shirt pattern and that can be a pajama shirt. If you want, you can size up if that seems more comfortable or whatever. But I will share that with you when I make it. The second fabric that I got this month is 2.5 meters of this kind of standard, standard is kind of the wrong word, but it's really like a staple jersey fabric. This is 95% cotton, 5% elastic jersey, and this is a nice dark olive color. Very similar to the sweater that I knit for my mom. And for this, I'm planning to make something for myself. I have kind of 3 ideas in mind, and I'm not exactly sure what I'm gonna pick yet. I'm leaning towards the Kilo, K-I-E-L-O, Kilo wrap dress or jumpsuit, because that pattern was originally just the wrap dress, but now has been updated also to have a jumpsuit version, and I have that updated version of the pattern. So that's appealing because it is very flexible in fit. So I could wear it now at the end of this pregnancy and also afterwards, but I probably wouldn't wear it until next year because it's not something that would be nursing friendly. I do think that it would be comfortable at the end of the pregnancy because like right now, this is a ready to wear outfit that my mom actually gave me, that she brought with her, and it is a jumpsuit that's really comfortable, and I don't have anything else like this for maternity wear. And typically I just have I have 3 pairs of black skinny jeans that I wear with various tops, and this is just so much more comfortable because there's nothing tight on my body. So I think that the jumpsuit version of the pattern is really appealing for that reason, because it would be quite similar to this outfit, which is very comfortable, and it's something that it's not like designated maternity, so you could wear it later. Either the dress or the jumpsuit. I'm more inclined to do the jumpsuit because the dress I would need to wear tights with it, and then tights, it's like, well, then I'm wearing something tight on my stomach and my body again. So I'm trying to get away from that. So making long pants with a long sleeve top for the jumpsuit could be the best option. Why I'm not maybe 100% convinced on that one is that I just don't know if I love the way the jumpsuit kind of like pulls up in the front, like on the bump, because yeah, even though there's plenty of room for the bump, it's not like, I don't know. I've been looking at the hashtag on Instagram to try to determine if it's something that I'm gonna be comfortable wearing. I just haven't decided yet. Originally, I was thinking about possibly making a maternity modification of the Nico dress, which is a pattern by True Bias. I've only ever made the Nico top, and I have I guess I've never made a maternity version. I've worn it while being pregnant, and it has worked, so I might be able to get away with just making a regular version of the dress. But I'm thinking that this fabric, while it does have a lot of good stretch to it, it might feel constrictive unless I added a little bit of gathering at the side for a maternity look, and then I wouldn't be getting very much wear out of that, and I would probably have to wear it with tights. So that's kind of lowest on the list. Then maybe next is the wrap dress, so probably the jumpsuit is looking most likely at this point, but we will just have to see. I think, to show you one last thing. One other acquisition that I had since last time that just reminded me, because it's a very similar color, that I'll just share with you briefly, is something else that I was looking out for my plans box, and that is a yarn to knit another Cozy Classic Raglan Light version, because I'm so happy with how my peachy coral one turned out that it's something that I can see myself wearing very regularly, and that I can I would like to have more color options in my closet. So I saw this yarn from a Swedish dyer. It is from elkmarketyarn.com. Lotta is her name, and this is a 100% high twist Corriedale yarn, and I was able to get, she has mini skeins as well. These are 25-gram mini skeins of this yarn, and I know how much yarn I need for this project because I just knit one. So I was able to get 250 grams, and I used 231 grams in my last version. So I know that this is going to be enough. Of course, I could have just gotten 3 full skeins of the yarn, but I thought while she had the minis there and they were in the same, likely same dye lot, that I would just go for the minis, because then I'm not left over with some small amount, which I have realized that I accumulate, and I don't always know what to do with small amounts of fingering weight yarn because I don't knit scrappy blankets, period. Yeah. It might be time to knit another like little scrappy striped cardigan for a baby or a child. Anyway, this was a really good option, so I was excited about that. And this is the color Martelen. It's probably a Swedish word that I should know, but I don't. So just kind of a scummy green olive color that I think will make a nice cozy classic. And then I also got a skein of Hearth, which is the same base, 100% Corriedale, and it's just this nice rusty, not quite as bright as the camera, rusty reddish orange that I think will be nice for an accessory or like some socks or something. So that is all of my everything that I came to show you today. So just to remind you that for the month of February, to celebrate the 9th anniversary of my podcast, you can get 20% off in my Ravelry store using this code. And for those of you who are interested in a little bit of additional content, you can join me over on Patreon, where you will always get 20% off my patterns, but for February you will get 25% off, as well as yeah, like I said, it's some additional content. So that's it. I look forward to speaking to you next time, and in the meantime, happy knitting, happy making.